Boruto spent 3 years training to stop the end of the world, only to discover his biggest problem might not have been the God Tree monster with a lifetime supply of free books at the Konoha library. Instead, it might be protecting a girl who keeps throwing herself directly into danger because, ironically, she's trying to help protect Boruto. Somewhere, Sasuke is trapped inside of a tree, wondering why his daughter inherited both his recklessness and Naruto's inability to stay out of trouble for the sake of protecting someone that she cares for. And the worst part is that Boruto made a promise to protect her, which means he's about to find out that fighting Hidari might actually be easier than keeping Sarada Uchiha alive. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, takes a look at why Boruto and Sarada not only need to be the only two people fighting Hidari in the upcoming battle, but why the samurai stories that were used for Boruto and Sasuke's relationship backs up that suggestion, as well as in terms of the bigger payoff, and why, even though Kashin Koji is likely to have been written coming up with some big brain plan, Ikimoto should absolutely scrap it just to focus on this duo. Also, down in the description box and in the end credits, the new video that is the mega in-depth video on the first Ninja War is linked, and I strongly recommend that because it's part of a 4-part series with new information on each of the Ninja Wars. But most importantly, it takes a different approach by showing the real-life wars that each Ninja War mirrored, including clear callbacks to some of the key battles. Strongly recommend that one, as well as the new video on my Everything One Piece Explained channel, which will also be in the description box and in the end credits. Now, at first glance, the upcoming battle against Hidari, it looks simple. Boruto, Sarada, 1 Shinju, 2 versus 1. Basically a handicap match, and you pray they don't get steamrolled like Obafemi did against the Viking Raiders a few months ago on Monday Night Raw. The problem is that nothing in Two Blue Vortex has ever really been simple. In a way, it's been a distant relative of the Chainsaw Man manga in that regard, where just when you think that the simple answer is going to be given, you get a subversion of expectations that was quietly foreshadowed in the background. After you stop punching your screen and cussing out the mangaka, you realize that Ikimoto had already set it up. Unless you're one of the people that's reading the story for agenda purposes and not actually paying attention, which sadly that's a growing number of fans. Every major battle in this arc has contained layers beneath what was happening beneath the surface. Mamushi wasn't just a fight against 1,000 Mamushi clones. There are multiple themes to that entire fight that you can pick up on if you read between the lines, because not everything is directly stated. It was a battle that exposed Sarada's willingness to sacrifice herself for Boruto, something that we knew, but now it's being put on the table in a way where it does one thing every good writer knows how to do, which is to take a strong internal conflict and have it collide with an even stronger external conflict. In this case, Sarada wanting to protect Boruto, it goes well beyond any thoughts that fans will tell you about her being obsessed with being Boruto's next future baby mama. That's not it. If you think that, you're wrong, and I recommend the Sarada video in the description box. Jura simply wasn't just testing out strength. He was studying love in all of his fights. Yes, love. That 4-letter word that makes Boruto fans start crashing out like demons in the show Supernatural, where Sam and Dean Winchester start throwing holy water on them and they start chanting and they start foaming at the mouth. Kashin Koji wasn't merely providing information. He was manipulating events to create the future with the highest chance of survival, even if it meant failing the ethics course in the process. And now all those threads, they're converging around Hidari when you take a moment and step back and look at the seeds that were planted into the narrative and watered over time. Because while most fans were focused on Sarada finally getting her rematch against Hidari, the Shinju born from her father Sasuke's chakra, there were warning signs everywhere that this battle was going to be a lot bigger than it appears. Warning signs that were put in place well before Hidari ever debuted in Chapter 4 of Boruto Two Blue Vortex. One of the very first warning signs came from Kashin Koji. One thing Koji has consistently shown throughout Boruto Two Blue Vortex is that he never approaches a fight with the expectation that One person can handle everything alone. The man is basically the story giving Naruto fans the very thing that they swore that they wanted when Boruto began 10 years ago, which is a return to ninja tactics. And as we talked about here on the channel several times over the last few years, Ikimoto is a bigger fan of part 1 of Naruto, which is why you see so much focus on teamwork battles and less on the two idiots screaming at each other, slamming jutsu at one another, and blowing their arms off like a lot of fans want. To think that that whole battle could have been solved by a friendship bracelet was absolutely crazy. His 10 Directions ability isn't just about a power that shows possible futures. And you might be going, but wait, Naruto explained, that's basically what that jutsu is. So allow me to explain it a little further. It's a power, but it's also a tool. And more importantly, it's information. And for a shinobi, information is your lifeblood, because information is the difference between winning and losing. Ask yourself this question. What if Shikamaru knew all that information about Hidan and Kakuzu before he and Asuma led that team with Izumo and Kotetsu? Maybe they could have won. Maybe they could have tipped the scales. Who knows? Personally, I think they all get wiped out, but they have a much better chance. This power allows him to identify which pieces need to be moved in place for victory and when to best put each piece into play. That's why Boruto knew when to appear when Code made his invasion into Konoha. They had a window to try to destroy the Ten Tails before Jura was born. That's why allies have repeatedly positioned themselves exactly where they needed to be, which somewhere in Ninja Heaven, Yodo is looking through that forbidden jutsu scroll and she's trying to figure out how to haunt Kashin Koji. 10 Directions works best when you aren't just reacting to outcomes, but instead when you're moving along the timeline in a subtle way, guiding the path towards a favorable outcome without changing things so badly that it negates the information that you get from 10 Directions. It's basically about walking that tightrope. And right now, we're kind of nearing the final stages of this Shinju conflict when you think about it. Barring some major plot twists. Matsuri's gone, Mamushi's gone, Ryu's gone. The only one remaining is Hidari that stands between Boruto and Jura. That fact alone should make everyone suspicious, because Hidari isn't just another random Shinju. He's the one connected to the most important character relationship in this entire arc that we're going into, Sasuke. The moment that Hidari appeared, he became more than an enemy. He became a physical manifestation of everything that Sarada lost. This is a deeply intimate battle when you look at the themes indirectly at play here and you just look at it from that perspective. You have father versus daughter, family legacy, her goal of becoming Hokage being given more conflict, just like with Naruto, where saving a loved one when you have the power to do so is just as, if not more important than becoming the Hokage. Most importantly, something a lot of fans overlook, you have the emotion of guilt. Had she not sent Sasuke to save Boruto, Hidari wouldn't exist. Somewhere that nugget of information is weighing her down, along with the disappointment in oneself that she felt when she was in her powerless and helpless state. That changes the emotional stakes of this battle completely. This is why I think Kashin Koji almost certainly has a contingency plan in place. Just from a writing perspective as an author, the pattern, it fits what Koji would have to plan for this. In universe, from a tactical perspective, there are way too many variables for him to not do so, and it would be out of character for him to not start coming up with a plan. Why? One word, my friends: variables. The biggest one being obviously code. Chapter 34 changed everything, and not quietly either. It was done loudly, and yet it was overlooked because code was sent by Boruto into hiding like he was Shino after finding Hinata's secret Instagram page that she made because she was showing off her ladybug collection. See, you thought I was going to say something dirty right there, didn't you? Give me Tom Brady's good nut in the comment section if you know that I'm right about that. For moments, for months, maybe even for years, readers, they treated Code like a separate threat from Hidari and Jura. Now we know that that isn't necessarily true. Instead, Ikimoto doubled down on what we saw with Code and Jura when they made their partnership. Koji revealed that one future involved Code targeting Sarada specifically. Think about what that means for a second. Code isn't chasing Sarada because she's powerful. She's chasing her because of Boruto. Somewhere in the futures that Koji witnessed, Code realized exactly what Sarada means to Boruto, and Code remembered that promise that Boruto made to protect Sarada. And honestly, it's not too hard to understand how Code would have put down the glue that he was sniffing long enough to put the pieces together in the last arc, because if he had forgotten it, he got a reminder. Boruto gave him that reminder. Boruto practically had a heart attack during the Mamushi fight. The second that Sarada collapsed from overusing a mangekyou sharingan, eyes bleeding like something demonic, Boruto's composure cracked. Think about what that means. The calm strategist, he disappeared. The Aura King, he became a peasant. The detached warrior also became something that disappeared. Boruto rarely in series so far in Two Blue Vortex has shown a break to his calm. It's been his bread and butter, yet here we see that Boruto broke. This was right up there with Minato briefly breaking during the 4th Ninja War. For a brief moment, Code saw the person underneath. Because we know Code was watching the scene on the battlefield, Boruto and Kashin Koji basically confirmed it. The boy who was stoic suddenly was very terrified of losing someone precious to him. Yet, a lot of fans that saw that as shipping bait. I saw a really good thematic payoff. But Code saw a way that Sarada immediately became leverage against Boruto, because in Naruto, the strongest doesn't always win every fight. Sometimes it's the one who creates the opening that gets the W, and not all openings rely on physical skills. Which means Boruto isn't entering a fight against Hidari when he and Sarada go 2 versus 1. That's a completely different scenario, especially because Sarada doesn't even know that Code is hunting her. Though Boruto is likely in character going to tell her, but this is where the story gives you a chance as a writer to do a couple of very brave things. If you've been on the channel long enough, you've heard me use the term dramatic irony more than a few times, where one character or characters are unaware of events that we as an audience know. You've got a chance here with Boruto not wanting to bog Sarada down with more than just focusing on taking down Hidari. You have a chance to leave the Code situation for later, as in Boruto keeps that information, especially since she is compromised because she only has one good eye, and situations like this give you as a writer the rare chance to get a character to do something that is out of character. Either way, it's fine though. Personally though, I think that creates an enormous psychological burden for Boruto if you go this route. Because now he isn't just Sasuke's student, he's also Sarada's protector. A responsibility that he willingly accepted all the way back in chapter 5 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex when Sasuke was struck down by Code. What's fascinating isn't how much this mirrors things that we saw in the past with Naruto characters. Instead, this mirrors samurai traditions. Historically, loyalty didn't end when a lord or a master disappeared, even when they passed away. In many stories from Japanese history and literature, which reminder, Naruto as a franchise uses more than Buddhism and Japanese folklore. It also uses old samurai tales, and Boruto as a manga has continued with some of those storylines as well. And the stories that I'm thinking about, a disciple's duty, it extends beyond protecting the master, but also protecting the family of their master if something happens. A warrior wasn't simply expected to preserve the teachings of their master. Very similar to how in Naruto, a ninja isn't just meant to learn jutsu from their sensei. They are also expected to preserve legacy, which in Naruto, inheriting the will of fire from your master, if you're a Konoha shinobi, that's what you're doing. And in Boruto's case, Sasuke entrusted him with both. His sword was taken up when Sasuke was sealed away. His techniques were passed down during the year that Sasuke trained him, with one of Sasuke's last commands being telling Boruto continue refining the jutsu that he taught him to make them into his own. However, Sasuke's last words were also weighed down by something else: his daughter. That last one matters way more than people realize, because Boruto's promise wasn't about helping Sarada become Hokage. He already made that promise to Sarada to do that way back in the Momoshiki arc. It was about standing beside her when things became difficult. It was about ensuring the daughter of his master, who was sacrificing himself for Boruto, that she stayed alive. That matters. Anyone can make a promise during peaceful times, or when a promise feels like something that's just way down the line. The real test comes when keeping that promise becomes inconvenient. When that happens, you see the true colors of someone's character. How do they react when things become too dangerous when trying to fulfill that promise? For a samurai, honor is everything. For the type of ninja that Boruto is, as the son of Naruto and the student of Sasuke, honor is everything. How do you react when faced with the near impossible? That's exactly where Boruto finds himself now, because Sarada is headed into a fight, actively losing her eyesight. The irony is almost too painful to watch unfold, no pun intended, since Sarada is going blind in one eye. For years, Sarada wanted to kind of understand her father. That was the whole point of Naruto Gaiden. Now she's walking directly into one of the same burdens that consumed Sasuke for a time: power that was basically gained through sacrifice. Right now, her vision is fading because of love, a willingness to destroy herself for the person that is precious to her, and most importantly, for her Hokage dream. The visual symbolism, it isn't subtle either. It's right in your face. When Kashin Koji's future vision showed Sarada fighting Hidari, the film strip, it obscured the very eye we now know is deteriorating. That was foreshadowing by Ikimoto of exactly where we're headed. And what makes that battle so important is it's not just because Hidari's powerful, not because Sasuke needs to be rescued, but because this confrontation is becoming a defining moment for who Boruto and Sarada are supposed to become. Sarada wants to become a Hokage. Boruto wants to become the shadow that protects the Hokage. For years, those dreams, they sounded like something romantic and idealistic. It's like the kid who says, I want to be the president of the United States one day. As an adult, you hear that and say, sure, one day when you're an old man or an old woman, we'll see if you still go down that path. But in every dream, there comes a inflection point where you have to make a choice. Do you continue to pursue that dream, or do you let that dream be shattered by the cold logic of adulthood and reality? Do you take the more pragmatic approach that so many adults take? Some by fear of failure, and some because life happened, like that one time you get an unwanted answer on a pregnancy test. Which, this would be a good time to ask my video question to you guys. What was your dream as a kid? Are you still following that dream, or did you give up? And if you did give up on that dream, why did you give up? Getting personal for a second, my dream was always to be a politician, hence that president line. That's part of why I went to work in politics after leaving as an editorial assistant. I was working in publishing. So when I say that to say this, right now, Boruto and Sarada, they are being tested in reality. Because protecting the future Hokage doesn't mean standing in her shadow, standing behind her as her shadow. Sometimes it means standing beside her, just as his idol Sasuke once stood beside Boruto's own father, Naruto. Sometimes it means trusting in her, even when every fiber in your being is screaming to get more involved. Sometimes the greatest strength is to trust in the strength of others. And sometimes that means watching someone like Sarada walk towards danger while knowing you can't stop her. And even if you could, that's a journey that she's earned the right to take. And it's a gift to you if she asks you to join her on each step of the way or not. That's the lesson that Boruto's about to learn. Despite everything I just said about additional fighters potentially appearing. Because again, in character, Kashin Koji would have come up with some big-brained and morally corrupt plan to execute and exploit Hidari's weaknesses under the perfect win scenario like he did with the other Shinju. I don't actually think other shinobi should be allowed to help fight against Hidari. In fact, I think the story, the closer it gets to that outcome, the weaker the payoff becomes. And barring some very well thought out narrative plot twist that we can't see right now, I think you potentially waste the 3 years and counting of development that was building towards this moment. And the reason why comes down to one simple question: who actually has the strongest claim to this fight? The answer's not Mitsuki. It damn sure isn't Konohamaru. It really shouldn't be Kawaki anywhere near this battlefield. It's Boruto and it's Sarada. Hidari exists because of Sasuke. Everything about his character traces back to Sasuke. His appearance, when he first showed up, everyone went, "Oh my god, that's evil Sasuke." His chakra, his abilities, even the emotional conflict surrounding him exists because of Sasuke. Sarada is fighting to save her father. Boruto's fighting to save his master and to have his wife heal him when Sasuke's unsealed. Boruto's meant to put the Uchiha family back together. Nobody else has a connection that strong. And in Naruto, the best fights aren't always decided by who's the strongest. Sometimes it's the narrative payoff that decides the winner. I know that's not the sexiest answer. No, one of you guys is probably typing plot armor in the comment section, but it's true. Naruto needed to be the one who took down Pain. Sasuke could have had Team Taka join him and they could have tried to make fish sticks out of Kisame and then jump on Itachi, but Sasuke had to slay the dragon known as Blind Itachi. Naruto could have kept on with the Talk no Jutsu on Obito after Obito lost the Ten Tails, but ultimately that emotional climax, it belonged to Kakashi and Minato as the sole surviving members of Team Minato. The Naruto series has always understood something important, even at the grimacing of a lot of fans. Emotional ownership and payoff matters a lot. It matters more than one-on-one fights. And right now, Boruto and Sarada, they own this conflict. Especially when you look at the fact of what Hidari represents to each of them. For Sarada, Hidari is the possibility of losing Sasuke forever. The clock's already ticking. We've already learned what happens when the Thorn Soul bulb isn't quickly used enough. The victim dies. Bug's fate, it proves that. Which means this isn't simply about winning. This is about saving Sasuke before time runs out. That creates pressure unlike anything that Sarada has experienced before, because this is going to be her in a situation where she's going to be told about that tidbit information, either on screen or off screen, because in character Boruto would not keep that from her. Because this isn't just another mission, it's her father. Sarada is the one of the last bits of glue that Boruto has that connects him back to Sasuke. It's the person she spent years defending when the entire world branded him a criminal because she sent him to save Boruto. The person whose innocence she is determined to prove just as much she's seeking to prove her father did not betray the village. Sasuke is the person who believed in her enough to trust in her judgment when nobody else did when omnipotence happened. If Hidari wins, Sarada loses more than a battle. She loses a piece of herself before she is consumed by Hidari. But Boruto's side of this conflict is arguably even more fascinating, because Boruto's connection to Sasuke has evolved into something deeper than a teacher-student relationship. At this point, Sasuke is the bridge connecting Boruto's old life to his new one. When the entire world turned against him, Sasuke was the first person affected by omnipotence who did not do that. When everyone else accepted omnipotence, Sasuke trusted in Sarada and gave Boruto a chance. When Boruto lost everything, like Momoshiki predicted, Sasuke gave him a purpose. And he kept Boruto from falling into despair. 3 years. Boruto wasn't simply training. He was inheriting a legacy. even if he only spent 1 year living out his dream, traveling alongside Sasuke and training under him. Which means Hidari isn't just threatening Sasuke, he's threatening everything that Sasuke represents. And that's why Boruto's promise matters so much. Promises in Naruto aren't treated like casual statements, they matter. They're basically created like binding vows in Jujutsu Kaisen. Naruto spent years chasing Sasuke because of a promise. Minato entrusted Naruto with the future. Jiraiya entrusted Naruto with peace. And now Boruto carries that promise of his own. Protect Sarada like he promised Sasuke. Help Sarada become the Hokage like he promised Sarada. Stand beside her. That sounds very simple until reality gets involved. Because now protecting Sarada means dealing with multiple threats all at once. Hidari's trying to consume her. Code is hunting her. Her mangekyou sharingan is basically on life support. But she also has a second mangekyou ability that has not been revealed yet. That last part, it is especially important. Because from a storytelling perspective, Sarada's second ability feels almost guaranteed to appear during this conflict. Now think about it. The story has repeatedly emphasized the danger of her current powers. Her vision, it is deteriorating. Her body is being pushed to its limits. Sakura has already warned her about the consequences. That isn't set up without a payoff. That means that something is coming. If that second ability emerges during this battle with Hidari, it further strengthens the argument that this fight belongs to Sarada, because it becomes the moment she fully steps into her identity. She's not just Sasuke's daughter. She's not just Boruto's teammate. She's not just one of Boruto's potential love interests. She's not just a future Hokage. No, she's Sarada Uchiha, her own person, her own hero, her own legend. Just like we have Kakashi the Sharingan, Minato, the Yellow Flash, and etc., Sarada has a moment here. And that brings us to Kashin Koji. Despite all this, I still think that Kashin Koji has additional pieces that are being moved into position. Frankly, it would be irresponsible for him to not do so. Koji's entire character revolves around maximizing survival rates, at least for the pieces that matter. He doesn't think like Naruto. He doesn't even think like Boruto. He's a consequentialist at heart. If placing 10 people on the battlefield increases victory by 1%, he'll consider it. If killing 10 people on the battlefield increases victory by 20%, he's damn sure gonna do it. That's just who he is. He's not Jiraiya. So I can absolutely see a scenario where Mitsuki, he just suddenly shows up. Even though it will make me rant, he could definitely show up. Particularly if Hidari has evolved from his temporary death that we saw back in chapter 12 and then he ended up getting revived. That's something that I don't think enough people have discussed enough. Every Shinju that we've seen, they're not just mindless brutes. And we've seen with Hidari, he has been growing and evolving. We see him actively reading books alongside Jura. That matters. The strongest story, in my opinion, isn't always the safest one. It's something that was drilled into my head back when I was an editorial assistant. Sometimes taking risks have bigger payoffs. Sometimes it's better to just kill your darlings. You might have the most big brain, brilliant idea, but sometimes it's not always worth to use it. Sometimes it's better to save it for another story. And that's why I do think that additional fighters, they can participate without the deciding factor, even though that's not what I want. They could help clear distractions, maybe help manage the code situation, maybe create opportunities, but the final victory, I will die on the hill, that should belong to Boruto and Sarada. It's about proving for Boruto and Sarada that they've grown into the characters they were meant to be. Sarada has to prove she's worthy of becoming Hokage. She's done a lot to that, but this is a good moment for her to push it further. Boruto has to prove he's worthy of being her shadow. He's done a lot, but this is a great way to help her and also help himself. They want titles that you don't inherit just by being strong. Those are titles that you have to earn. The battle against Hidari feels like the first time that the story is truly forcing them to earn that together. And that's why they have to do this, because it sets the stage for Sakura. Sakura's name's inevitably going to come up here. That's just a reality. Sakura has every reason to be involved. Sasuke's her husband, Sarada is her daughter. Hidari exists because of Sasuke. Sakura is trusting in Sarada. So on paper, you want her there to help fight, but emotionally, I think her greatest moment comes afterward. Not during the rescue, but after, as a medical ninja, healing her husband. Because for Sarada and for Boruto, this is about saving Sasuke. Sasuke is Sarada's father. Sasuke is Boruto's sensei. But Sakura, that's about getting her family back and having her trust in Sasuke and Sarada rewarded. Imagine that moment where Sasuke's finally released. Sarada standing there exhausted, probably blind in both eyes. Boruto sitting there eating a Thunder Burger for the first time. And then Sarada hears that her father's been healed up. That's a massive payoff. And I do think that's the best way to set the stage for the final stage of the Shinju saga, where you have that confrontation with Jura that takes place. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, click here on the left, check out more Naruto Explain videos, or click here on the right to check out videos from my Anime Explain channel and my Everything One Piece Explain channel.